according to our guy Mel Kiper Jr., the Philadelphia Eagles had one of the best drafts this past weekend. Kiper gave Philly an A grade for the 2024 class. They made 8 trades during the draft and actually ended up with each of Mel Kiper's top 2 cornerbacks, Quinyon Mitchell in round 1 and Cooper DeJean in round 2. So that continues a very busy offseason for GM Howie Roseman, headlined by acquiring Saquon Barkley. They also made some key moves on defense, adding Bryce Huff from the Jets and re-signing C.J. Gardner-Johnson back from the Detroit Lions for that secondary that needed all that work. So now we have these numbers posted at ESPN BET. The Eagles are 15-1 to win the Super Bowl, which actually just moved from 16-1 in the last 24 hours. Their win total is sitting at 10.5, and they are a minus 190 favorite to make the playoffs yet again. They made the playoffs last year, but didn't really show up in that game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Understatement of the year.
Let's start, smaller picture here with division odds. We know the NFC East rarely does a team repeat, so Joe, do you like the number on the Eagles right now as a 2024 champ?
I love the number. I would play the plus 130. I think it closes with them odds on. Okay. And this has nothing to do with the draft. Everyone's going to say, oh, my God, they had such a good draft. You're overreacting. I don't care about the draft. They did a nice draft, but that's not the point here. The point is the psychology of this. When you bring up the Philadelphia Eagles, first thing people think about is how they collapsed last year, how bad it was, the dysfunction in the locker room, the dysfunction with the coaching staff, and the utter implosion late in the season. That's what they remember. So that's how they're being priced right now. They've solved those problems. Take a look at what's going on. They got rid of both coordinators who were in over their head. Any player you talk to blamed the coordinator situation last year. So they bring in 2 veterans in Kellen Moore and Vic Fangio. Say what you want about them. They're professionals who understand the business. So with that problem solved moving forward, I think it's a huge upgrade. You look at what they did defensively. They addressed the secondary. They make a lot of moves there. They were 3rd worst in points allowed last season. They're in a division where Dallas did nothing. They got worse. Washington's got a rookie quarterback and a coach in Dan Quinn who's taking over defense. They got rid of most of their best players last year. And they got a Giants team that, good luck. So to win the division, love the Eagles.
Yeah, I mean, I can't fault you for that. I just get a little bit nervous with the fact that they typically don't repeat within this division. Just one injury, I get a little bit nervous with that. But you make a lot of great points, and I do think they will be better this season. I mean, they're getting new offensive coordinator, new defensive coordinator. How much worse can it actually be than the end of the season last year? They were right there, almost being able to hit over their win total. But now that it's actually at 10.5, I lean more towards the over. It's really going to have to come down to when the schedule is actually released to see how I feel about this. But they are playing the NFC South, the AFC North, the AFC North being probably a little bit more competitive if we want to go there. But I will say, I mean, they're going to have an easier schedule than they did last season. So I would lean more towards over 10.5 wins. But, of course, I want to see the actual schedule when that comes out.
Yeah, it was an 11-win team last year, even though they sucked down the stretch, quite frankly. They still won 11 games because of how they started. All right, you said you like them to win the NFC East, so let's keep going. How do you feel about the NFC at large or even a Super Bowl?
Now, well, no. That's not going to happen.
What an April 30th question.
I know. And also, it's a Philadelphia question. There won't be any championships anytime soon unless we get something in the World Series with the Phils. A lot of this is going to come down to how the schedule sets up, I think, because I want to see some of these spots. That AFC North crossover is going to be very problematic. All 4 games are going to be problematic. The South is a little bit better in the NFC than we saw last year. Those games are going to give you a bit of a run. In order to make a run, I think San Francisco's down, but there's several other teams that are stepping up. Like last year, it was 3 teams in the race, essentially. Niners, Eagles, Cowboys. Eagles and Cowboys crapped out. Yeah. Yes, the Lions made a run, but the Niners ended up representing it. This year, I think you have a lot of teams from that mid-pack that are going to rise up. So I don't really see them as an NFC champion, but they'll be there. They could be Final Four.
They'll be competitive for sure, but in terms of like this team is absolutely going to win the NFC or the Super Bowl right now, no, I would not be betting that.
All right, I want to bring Anita into this conversation. You know, she loves the NFC East and is locked in as few are. Now, I know Joe said the Cowboys did nothing, but come on, they brought back Ezekiel Elliott. So you had to heard what Joe and Erin said there. How do you feel about the East, this division in 24, Anita?
Listen, I'm with Joe. I love their chances of winning the NFC East, and I understand where Erin's coming from. Typically, teams don't repeat in that division. But, man, after this draft, how can you not like what the Eagles did? Not only in free agency, but in the draft, their biggest need was their secondary, right? They had one of the worst secondaries in the NFL last year. And in Howie fashion, in the way that the draft always pans out for the Eagles, They get two of the best top corner, safety, secondary players in the draft that just happen to fall to them. It's like the football gods are like, here, Howie, continue to have immense success in the draft. And then they add Saquon Barkley. I think the offensive lineman that they drafted in the 5th round, Trevor Keegan, I think he's going to be a huge surprise. Keep in mind, Kelsey's not there. They're going to continue to do that tush push. So for me, I think the Eagles check all the boxes. I like them to win the division, and also you could lay the -1.5 already out there right now. That first game against the Green Bay Packers. I've already gone to the window with that as well, guys.
All right, well, already betting week 1 action down in Brazil, and general optimism for this Eagles team after a disastrous end to last year.